back with you for another creepy storytelling. I'm very excited to do this once again for you all, and let's just get right into the story. Today's story is titled, I Was Someone's Missed Connection on Craigslist. It had a bite as it hit my taste buds. The liquid was much too sour. Its bitter flavor gave me a jolt, as I looked over to hear the gurgling of milk coming from the shaggy barista wearing a band t-shirt of the National. I couldn't tell if he was new, but his messy brown hair and face told me it was apathy. It was a shame because usually my espresso was usually good when I stopped by. It was a diversion from an old friend named Jensen. He was a good guy overall. He had spent the last half hour talking about his work, and I was beginning to lose interest. He wasn't distracting enough to get me out of my own head and the discomfort I felt. I hated being out in public these days. Enough about me. What have you been up to? Jensen asked, as he leaned back in his chair, taking a sip from his coffee filled with too much cream and sugar. It amazed me how he stayed so fit, drinking so much dairy and sweetener. He looked as he did for years. He was skinny, but well-toned, with sandy blonde hair and dreamy blue eyes. I've been good, just living my life and going back to school. I need a new career. Yeah, I understand the need for that. How is everything outside of work? I asked. It's the usual. I still go out with my old crew every weekend. They've been asking about you. Maybe you should come out sometime. What the hell could I possibly do with you guys? I asked sharply. I don't know, you could just hang out? Then we can go lift weights at the gym and hit up the bar like old times. I mean, we could do some yoga or something. Yeah, not really my speed these days, Jen, I replied. It wasn't like the old times. I had traded my stiff drinks of tequila for coffee, and the weights for binge-watching shows on Netflix. It was a lifestyle that Jensen could never understand. I'm sorry, dude. I've just never been the coffee shop type guy. It seems like a place for Tinder and potential misconnections for me. Misconnections? His eyes lit up. You've never heard of misconnections? The ones on Craigslist are the best. No, I don't have a clue, I replied as I watched Jensen retrieve his phone. He seemed almost excited as he typed away on his phone. The sound of their surrounding chatter started to make me feel insecure. I imagined that everyone was watching us, wondering what I was doing with this meathead. But at one point, I was just like him. He laughed loudly for a second, and it made me feel like I stood out like a sore thumb. I saw you at the Best Buy, Jensen said loudly with a smile on his face. You were wearing a black cap and wore a pair of gray jeans. I've been dreaming of stripping you of them since I saw you that day. The fuck are you talking about? He grinned. It's the misconnection section on Craigslist. It's where people think they have a connection with someone in public, and they post it hoping that the person will see it and reach out to them. Sounds kind of sad, Jen. If you mean sad as in hilarious. If you say so, dude, I say as I took a sip of coffee. I look around for a moment as Jensen kept reading and giggling like a little schoolboy. He put his phone down when he saw it started to annoy me. So, anyway, you seeing anyone? The question made me uneasy, but I knew he would bring it up. It had been quite a while since we'd seen one another, and it was a fair question to ask, but my insecurities started to come up. Not at the moment, I muttered. You need to get back out there, man. Yeah, I hear that from everyone. Jensen leaned forward. That's because they are right. We don't want to see you waste away being miserable. My life is a little different now, I replied, irritated. As I looked at him, it was easy for him to say. His life had not changed. He could do the same things with little effort and without a thought. He knew he had hit a nerve. I'm sorry, man. I meant nothing by it. It's fine. I'm still just working on things both mentally and physically. Yeah, you'll get there. But I have to get going. I will be late for work, he said, as he began to stand up. I tried to follow him, but struggled and stumbled a bit. I watched his eyes and saw the look of pity. I hated it. It took a moment to regain my balance. We began to walk out of the store as Jensen started to shuffle ahead. It took him a moment, but he turned around. Shit, I'm sorry, he said remorsefully. It's fine, I just can't move like I used to. I caught up to him and we looked over at his motorcycle. He was still riding the 1000R, and it was still in great condition. It was his pride and joy, but looking at it made my body ache. Jensen gave a light smile and moved into hugging me. It was good to see you. We need to keep in touch, man, because I miss you. I promise. I will do better. Well, let's do this again next week. You should read some of those misconnections. You'll get a kick out of them." We departed and I headed out to run my errands. I could feel his little eyes staring at me as I walked down the aisle to grab some cereal and coffee. It was an innocent look. He tugged at his mother's pant leg as I struggled to crouch down to grab my favorite blend. He couldn't be older than 5 with dark hair and little brown eyes that studied me as I grabbed the bag of coffee. I turned to him and let out a little smile, but I knew it was coming as his mother turned to look over at me. "Mommy, what's wrong with that man over there?" he asked. She looked a lot at her child, but at the moment her eyes widened and her cheeks turned red. She glanced down to her son with a shaming look, and then back to me. "I am so sorry," she said. "It's okay, miss. I know he meant nothing by it," I assured her. I grabbed a box of cereal and walked back down the aisle. I tried to be mindful of every step as I strolled towards the checkout. It was probably me, but I could feel the eyes of everyone staring at me as I stood in line. I needed something to take my mind off it, so I did what Jensen suggested. I looked at the misconnection. One caught my eye, though. It made me think that Jensen had decided to tease me. I read the title and then clicked it. "The handsome man I saw at the coffee shop on 8th Street. You were sitting with the blonde man who seemed a fool of himself. You looked miserable at times, and it made me sad to see you like that. I will be in touch." I picked up my phone and dialed Jensen, and it went to voicemail. "You're a real asshole, but I will give you credit because I am handsome," I joked before hanging up. It was the last I thought about it. I sat on my couch, debating what to watch on Netflix when my phone began to ring. It took a moment for me to lift myself off the couch and walk to the table where my phone was charging. I looked to see it was Jensen returning my call. I retrieved an answer. "Hello, Mr. Funny Guy. Well, I agree that you are very handsome. I have to ask, what did I do?" "The post about us at the coffee shop. I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I am so sure it's just coincidental that you told me to look on there, and now someone is describing me." "Seriously, I don't know. What do you mean, a post that described you?" "You posted on misconnections on Craigslist, Jensen." "No, I did not, but I wish I had, because that would have been amazing to see the look on your face," he replied as I shuffled over back to my couch. I relaxed back, waiting for me to respond. He probably had a huge smile on his face. "It was a good one, but I'm hanging up now until you think of a better way to lie. It wasn't me. I was too busy today to do anything, and I am not even that clever." "We all have our moments, Jen," I replied as I hung up the phone and went back to the misconnections. Jensen would probably delete it now that I had caught him, but something else stood out. It was another one from an hour ago. It was at the store where I had run into the child that stared at me. "This one's for the good-looking man who bought my favorite coffee at Waldron Market. I saw you again today. I know you hate when strangers look at you, but you have nothing to be ashamed of because you are perfect the way you are. Don't ever feel bad about yourself." I found it strange. Had to be a joke, but also I didn't see Jensen following me because that would require too much commitment. It started to make me feel a little worried the more I thought about it. It was a bit creepy. The only thing that distracted me was the ache in my right thigh. I had done a lot more walking today than usual. I decided it was time to change and try to take my mind off the weirdness. They couldn't be possibly talking about a person like me. I walked into my bedroom and retrieved some sweatpants and a t-shirt. I stripped down, looking at my body. I was once a man in great shape, but now that muscle had been replaced with ugly scars and riddled my torso and lower body. There was the big one that bothered me the most. It was the metal rod and fake foot that made my right leg. They saved my life that night. The multiple surgeries allowed me to still function. The one thing they couldn't save was my leg. It took months to get this one, but I was still getting used to it. I lumbered around like a robot in a bad sci-fi movie, and it was the reason to me being insecure. I cursed the drunk driver who ran a red light and crashed the side of my motorcycle. It was a night that changed everything. He robbed me more than just a fully functioning body that night. The sound of my phone went off again, and I answered it. "Dude, you need to call the police." It was Jensen, who sounded concerned. "What's going on?" I asked, a bit startled. I stood in my bedroom, only in a pair of boxer briefs and clenching the phone tightly. I am reading to the man in apartment 124 in Building D. My heart pounded as I looked out the bedroom window. It was my building and my apartment number. It was either a sick joke that Jensen was playing or someone had followed me home. What does it say? It says, "As I watch you strip out of your clothes and a look of disgust, I still find you perfect the way you are. How could this..." "Call the police now! I am on my way," he shouted loudly. "It's true," a voice said behind me. As I froze in fear, I slowly turned my head, trying to remain calm as I dialed 911. It was what behind me that shook me to the core. I could even feel a phantom pain in my missing leg as I looked. A woman with light brown hair stood behind me in the doorway. She had piercing hazel eyes with a soft face. She looked the same as she did that night, wearing her gray blouse and dark denim jeans. She smiled at me as I struggled to gain my bearings. It was impossible for her to be here. I lost her that night, along with my leg. When I was lucky enough to survive the accident, she had not. I walked away with a crushed leg, but my girlfriend Holly got stuck underneath the driver's tires. It crushed her that night. I could still remember the sound of her bones being crunched underneath the weight of the car. "What are you doing here?" I asked. I didn't like to mention her because I felt guilty for that night. While I may have lost a leg, the biggest thing I lost that night was her. The thought of her eyes and her smile were too much to bear. I just wanted you to know, even without your leg, that you are still perfect to me, and you should never feel insecure. Okay, that's a bit trippy because, I mean, if she's dead, then she's a ghost, but she's still somehow posting on Craigslist. But I mean, it started out creepy, and it kind of ended creepy too, but then, like, it's still, like, kind of cute at the same time because she's like, "Oh, you still look perfect to me," you know, whatever. But, like, how did that happen? How was she able to appear there? Maybe, I mean, he could have been hallucinating, but then how would she have posted the things on Craigslist, and how would Jensen, his friend, have seen them, you know? Like, if it was a hallucination, only he would have seen them, right? Oh, I really like this story. This one was good. I really enjoyed this one. That's really cool and creepy at the same time, you know? But yeah, that was the story for today, everyone. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a big thumbs up, as well as leave any stories down in the comments below that you would like to see me read in the future. That is all I have for you though, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.